Hello, people of the internet. This is KaijuNoir
And Pete.
and this is our review for Inside Out, the 15th theatrically animated film by Pixar, which is of course, it's the first film from Pixar in a while since 2013's Monsters University, because oddly enough, we didn't get a Pixar movie for 2014, which is kind of odd. As I mentioned, it was odd because we've been getting Pixar movie practically every year since Toy Story in 1995.
That actually threw me off. When I asked you what came out last year, you told me nothing. I was like, wait,
Like,
what?
you had like that. You had that Keanu Reeves mode, like whoa. And now we're gonna have two Pixar movies this year, apparently, with The Good Dinosaur coming out in November, I believe, which is kind of odd considering how we barely got a trailer for that film, when normally we would get like a teaser trailer a year in advance, like with this movie.
Not just that, but I mean, we've seen trailers for Inside Out outside of the theater. I've only seen the trailer for, what was it?
The Good Dinosaur.
The Good Dinosaur in the theater. That's the only place where I've seen the trailer for it.
And the internet, because nowadays all trailers go on the internet,
too.
but it's not like we pay attention to anything. But anyways, yeah, this is a movie that's been in development, I believe, since 2009, that focuses on what goes on inside your head. And that's what's funny is that when the movie was first announced, or the project was first announced by Pixar when they were discussing their long-term projects for the future, they described this movie as like what goes on inside the human body. And in my head, I was thinking to myself, is this like a remake of Fantastic Voyage? Are they gonna like shrink a submarine and go inside the organs and shit? But no, this is a very kind of like they bring to life the idea, conceptualize and I guess anthropomorphize. I don't know how do you call it.
I would say
they make. It's really hard to find the scripts. They take the subconscious and render it in a way that's sorry, I'm just probably gonna take this part out.
It's okay. Let's just think.
They take the subconscious and they conceptualize it into a fictional location where you have they
incarnate it.
They incarnate. I guess you can say that wasn't the word I was looking for. Okay, they take different ideas such as like what goes on in your head. They take certain emotions. They take what sort of like brain activity that goes on in your head. They take all the stuff that happens in your mind, everything that involves making decisions based on feelings, on emotions, and memories, and turn it into this big location where it's kind of like one big factory sort of place where you have the five main emotions. What were they? Joy, sadness, fear, anger, disgust. And these are the five primary emotions that run the human mind, whereas everything else kind of is done by kind of like factory worker sort of personalities, I guess. And the story focuses on this little girl's mind, the girl being Riley Anderson, and the character of Riley, she has been growing up in Minnesota. She loves hockey. She's always remains upbeat and positive, very tomboyish in a way. And the movie starts out with her family moving to San Francisco, and this big dramatic change in her life. And she struggles to deal with this change and this new environment, and everything that goes on in her head everything that goes on in her head reflects what happens in her real life, and what happens in real life affects goes on in her head. It's a very weirdly ingenious idea where everything that the five primary emotions do, they do so. Everything that they do in this in their little subconscious world. Makes perfect sense, and how what they do has a great impact on what she does. And I felt like when I first saw the trailer for this film, or the teaser trailer for this film, I thought that this is a concept that can go south real bad. Because I think we've had stories like this before, where we had like tiny little people attempting to control a human body, kind of like Osmosis Jones too, but not that direct, but it's kind of like a very I've seen it be done. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I've seen this where like people are trying to control a person from the inside, and whatever. It's like a button, and like they press a button, and then the character just randomly acts out of character. But it doesn't do that at all. Like again, what happens? The character, the emotions, actions, create natural personality shifts in Riley herself. And yeah, I thought that was ingenious. This was a really well-made story, and I kept thinking to myself, wow, this story was so beautifully crafted. I'm not sure, I know you haven't talked at all.
Oh, well, for me, and I remember specifically seeing the trailer for Big Hero 6 and Inside Out, and immediately being like, Big Hero 6, not so interested. Inside Out, you got my curiosity. Because, I mean, again, when you think about a movie like this, there's so many. I wasn't thinking bad or good or wrong like it happened with it, but there's just so many possibilities you can get with this kind of movie.
Yeah,
and you're right. I mean, the emotions you get, the emotions you have, and the emotions you see in the movie,
and
it's
how
like,
memories operate.
Yeah, it's in sync, and you how you see Riley react due to her emotions. You felt yourself feel like that before. You know what she's going, in a sense, what she's going through.
Yeah.
Like,
everything is incredibly relatable.
Exactly. No, even if you haven't been in her situation, you know what that feeling is like. Mm-hmm. It's a movie about feelings.
Personified. That's the word I was looking for.
Personified.
They take the subconscious, they take the different aspects of the subconscious and personify each of these emotions and turn them into unique characters of their own. And, I really don't want to go into the specifics of the plot outside of what was revealed in the trailers, because what I like about Pixar movies, at least the majority of Pixar movies, is they don't really go into their plots. They really like to keep things vague and keep it a big, surprise for the audience, and that I absolutely love and respect them for doing that. I mean, who would have known that the story to Up revolved around a giant friendly bird monster?
It's funny because the plot to this movie, it's simple.
Oh yeah,
very
definitely.
Simple.
It's kind of a bit of a road trip movie where sadness and joy, they have this big disagreement as to how things are run, and they both accidentally get lost within Riley's subconscious mind. And without joy and sadness to help balance the emotions during this pivotal moment in Riley's life, Riley kind of, and her emotions kind of fall apart.
Out of balance.
Out of balance, yeah. And even despite the fact that the remaining three emotions, anger, fear, and disgust, they try their best, but, considering who they are, they just, can't help but make the situation worse without happiness and sadness. And so the joy and sadness, they are pretty much going through Riley's subconscious. And you see a lot of really imaginative, highly original ideas as to how the subconscious mind works, and how everything is everything is interpreted in a way where this world makes sense, and how it's very fascinating to look at. And they definitely don't want to spoil this, but they come across a character in the subconscious mind who's an absolute joy to watch, and you really grow attached to this character that they meet along the way.
He's referenced early on in our childhood too. I
Oh,
don't know if you remember that, but this kind of review is harder to do because you want to talk about the story so much, but you can't because that you kind of ruin the experience. Mm-hmm. That's why it's trying to maneuver around it is a little difficult with a movie like this.
Mm-hmm. And basically, when it comes down to it, there's this big important lesson where it's not supposed to much a lesson, but it's a very interesting idea where the movie presents these emotions, or just emotions and memories in general, as being much more complex as you grow older. Because with these characters, they kind of treat sadness, they kind of not reject her, they kind of isolate sadness because they've always seen sadness as
a bad thing.
A bad thing, yes, but as this movie comes along, they realize how important, how essential sadness is to living as a functional human being.
It's surprisingly really grown up and really thought out.
Highly matured. You need sadness to cope with loss. You need the sadness to cope with fear, to help out, help struggle through the hardships in life.
All these emotions are linked to one another.
They tend to rely on joy to Joy is kind of like the de facto leader. She's the one trying to hold everything together and keep Riley as positive as possible. But realistically, you can't really be happy all the time. I mean, there are some moments where that requires other types of emotions because, you can't approach everything positively all the time, 24/7. And that's this really big theme that's going on that goes on in this film. And I remember you mentioned it before. Your biggest fear in this film was that they were going to have like a villain at the last second.
Oh God! Midway through the movie, I'm like, "Oh, this movie's so good. Please don't ruin it with a villain. No villain."
And they don't really do. This movie didn't need a villain. It's like what occurs in this film are due to the character's own action. What happens in this film are the consequences of these characters' actions and them trying to correct these actions. I mean, this is essentially like Toy Story. I mean, sure, you can say that Sid is like the villain, but I wouldn't say so. He's just an obstacle. I would say that Sid from Toy Story is simply an obstacle for Woody and Buzz to overcome. And, everything just happens naturally. You don't need a villain at the last second. I mean, that's kind of like one of the... Yeah, I guess you can say that was like a big criticism of the movie Frozen. I mean, I wasn't bothered so much by Frozen's villain at the being introduced so late in the game, or being established so late in the game. But I would say it's definitely not as bad as Brave. Did you saw Brave?
No, I didn't.
Brave, I never mentioned this before in the original review of mine due to spoilers, but that horribly, introduced a bad guy at the very end just to have a climactic battle, even though the villain was talked about in one brief flashback, and like midway through the film. Oh, and this movie, what can I say?
Again, it's a hard one to talk about.
Yeah. Oh, I want to say, very interesting. It happens kind of rarely, but we do get to see other people's subconscious, and we do see
that's one of my favorite parts.
The other versions, how the 5 emotions are in other people's minds. And it's so funny or interesting to note how each person has like a different dominant emotion. Like for Riley's mother, her dominant emotion is sadness, not sure why, but that would be interesting to see how that would work. I guess sadness because she's always looking at things from a more logical perspective and thinks of, okay, what's the worst situation what's the worst way that this situation can go in, and how can we prevent that?
There might even be a deeper meaning to her sadness.
Possibly.
Who knows?
And the father of he's being
angry.
Yeah, his dominant emotion is anger, and the voice actor of the dad's version of anger was a cameo role by the director himself. And I gotta say, what's his name? Pete Docter. That's an awesome name to have, by the way.
Mr. Doctor.
Mr. Doctor.
Dr. Doctor.
Professor Doctor.
Could you imagine that? Dr. Doctor.
General Doctor. Sir Doctor. He's been involved in Pixar for a very long time. He's been an animator. He's been a storyboard artist. He's been involved with for the overall story for a lot of Pixar's best movies, like the Toy Story films. He directed Monsters, Inc. He was involved with WALL-E. He directed Up. So he's directed and been involved with a lot of early Pixar's films in so many ways. And so this is his third Pixar movie that he's directed. And he does such a good job. It's just as good as Monsters, Inc. and Up. And Monsters, Inc. is personally my favorite Pixar movie. Well, I'm not sure. Would it be? I'm not sure. Like, Toy Story and Monsters, Inc. are so tied together. But Inside Out has a lot of that. You can see his talent just shining through as much as you do see in those previous 2 films. What else can I say? I guess we can talk about the emotions themselves. Okay. Lewis Black, perfect as anger. I was laughing out loud. This movie was a funny movie, and a lot of it, I believe, owes to Lewis Black as anger.
Can I say a curse word now?
Can I use that curse word now? He himself is the embodiment of anger, and I couldn't think of another better person for him. Everyone else was, surprisingly, as we were researching, these the people behind the emotions, we found a lot of them that were either like SNL alumni or people involved in The Office, or Amy Poehler herself, who's been known for being in both Saturday Night Live and Parks and Recreation, and they all do a fantastic job. And again, this is having a concept where you personify basic emotions that can go south real bad, where you can have a character who's defined by this one sole character trait, and you need to do a damn good job to make sure those characters are compelling enough, and as opposed to relying on that one character trait as a crutch,
and not just being boring. You don't want just Joy to be just boring, or to be focused solely on Joy, because admittedly, these emotions have emotions.
It's a funny meme I saw on 9gag where it's like, throughout Pixar's history, they're like, what if toys had emotions? What if monsters have emotions? What if cars had emotions? What if Scottish people have emotions? What if emotions had emotions? And I feel like that was a great decision. I mean, they're characters in their own right, just that they have certain preferences for that one emotion that they're named after and what they specialize in. And it's really interesting how, again, we mentioned how emotions are much more complicated, where you can't, some memories, some feelings, some moments in your life cannot be determined by one emotion in particular, especially as you grow older. And as Riley herself is going through this, big change in her life, she grows more mature, and she's able to cope with these different feelings in her life that she's feeling to a point where the emotions themselves learn to be more cooperative instead of having one emotion be in charge at a time.
And it's funny because for us, we obviously know how emotions work and that they're not just one emotion. It's a mixture of both. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's enforced near the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. But it's, even though we already know that, it just that realizing that again is just such a weird feeling, and it's a good feeling too. But it was, I don't know, that I really like the resolution of the movie, or like the message it was trying to send, that that you can't solely just be one emotion. Your whole being is a mixture of all these emotions being together. Yeah. So I don't know. I like this movie a lot. Yeah. I want to talk about it so much more.
God. See, is there anything else we can talk about?
I can't. I don't think so. Locations?
No, because then I'll go into spoiler.
I know. Yeah, no. Yeah. There's not much else that can be said without spoiling some parts of the movie.
Right, because again, it's not like Jurassic World where it's like, here's everything.
Yeah.
No. So I guess there's no other option then to go to final thoughts.
I love this movie. I think it is going to become a Pixar classic. I would definitely go watch it again. I've said I'd watch it again and again. I would definitely buy it, and I don't know. It's a really good movie. I really enjoyed it from the beginning. I was, from the start of the movie, I was already into it. We saw a little. I mean, it was short, but we saw a little girl grow up. We get to see her emotions. And again, the fact that we can connect with her as little as we see of her, because the movie doesn't necessarily just focus around Riley, but mostly about her emotions. Yeah. But even in those scenes, I still connect with her so well. Yeah, yeah. I love this movie. There's no doubt. This is like a 5 out of 5 movie. You have to watch it. I don't know.
You have to be like a truly heartless monster or villain to not watch this movie. Yeah. Overall, this is it's very uplifting to see such a highly original and unique film in an age where almost anything is an adaptation or a sequel or a remake, yada yada yada. And this feels like Pixar's return to form, because over the last couple of years we had several Pixar movies that are not quite up to Pixar's golden standards.
Cars 2.
And then Brave was a bit of a disappointment. I really enjoyed Monsters Inc., but I can see why other people don't like it because it's very derivative of other college movies.
Monster U?
I'm sorry, Monsters U. I'm very sorry about that. And then there was, what was else? Oh yeah, so basically, yeah, the last 3 movies that have been, and then with Toy Story 4, everyone's like, oh, they're gonna rely on sequels now. Oh, Pixar, they've fallen from grace.
Yeah, and now we have like all the Pixar sequels coming out.
Finding Dory, Incredibles 2. But I feel like, yeah, this is I thought I made a post on Facebook where it's like, oh, for a while there, I thought that Pixar couldn't be Pixar again. Then I realized how stupid that comment was when I saw Inside Out, because this is a return to form. This is the return of that golden Pixar standard. And what better way to celebrate this movie than for me to give it a 5 out of 5?
Yeah, I mean, I can't stress enough. I want to go watch it right now. It was really fun. I love the characters. I love the kid. I love the family.
Mm-hmm. I love the world. I love how they. I love all the different ideas and concepts behind the subconscious world, and it's a fun journey through and through. So, with that said, I believe that's is the end of our review for Pixar's Inside Out. I have been Andres Perez, aka KaijuNoir,
and Pete.
And until next time, everybody, take care.